You haven't had me on one of your records.
Yes,
That would be a...
No, I was on your record.
You were on my record.
Something just happened in an interview with Blake Shelton that has fans buzzing louder than a Friday night bar in Nashville. For years, viewers have watched him and Kelly Clarkson banter back and forth on live TV, teasing, roasting, exchanging side-eyes, and wondered if all that chaos was just for show. Blake finally let something slip, and what he admitted might just confirm what fans have been whispering for years. It wasn't packaged in PR spin or hidden behind a joke. It was raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. Suddenly, every roast on The Voice and every headline about their so-called feud looks completely different. So what did Blake really say, and why is everyone losing their minds over it? Let's break it down. Blake Shelton finally spills the tea. About Kelly Clarkson, and let's set the stage. It's May 2025. The energy in the studio of Kelly Clarkson's daytime talk show is electric. You can feel it the second you step inside. The lights are so bright they make your eyes water. Cameras are lined up like soldiers ready to capture every angle, and the audience is practically vibrating in their seats, shuffling programs and whispering excitedly to anyone within earshot. Then, here comes Kelly. She strides out in her signature electric blue power suit, every bit the queen of the stage. Confident, loud, and magnetic, she moves through the set like it's her own backyard, which, in this case, it pretty much is. The crowd erupts instantly. A moment later, Blake Shelton strolls onto the stage, the picture of laid-back country charm. Denim jacket, worn-in jeans, cowboy boots that have clearly seen their fair share of gigs, and that half smirk of his. Equal parts mischief and I know something you don't. The contrast between them is hilarious and perfect. Kelly, all high-energy pop star sparkle. Blake, slow-moving, dry-witted, yet impossible to ignore. And of course, the banter starts immediately. Sharp, fast, sarcastic, the kind of playful sparring only they can pull off. Kelly throws the first jab, teasing him about releasing a song called Texas, saying, "Blake, you're literally from Ada, Oklahoma. Do you need a map?" The audience loses it. Blake takes it in stride, tilting his head, letting the laughter wash over him, before turning to the camera and shrugging like he's letting everyone in on a secret only they understand. Then, just when you think you've caught your breath, he drops the line that will make headlines everywhere. Kelly and I are so inbred we probably share a toothbrush. For a split second, the studio is dead silent. You could literally hear a pin drop. Did he just say that out loud? On national TV? And then, chaos. The audience erupts, half in laughter, half in sheer disbelief. Kelly clutches at imaginary pearls, gasping through her own laughter, trying desperately to form a rebuttal, but losing the battle against her own amusement. She's wheezing, doubled over, tears forming in the corners of her eyes. It's unfiltered, unscripted, and absolutely electric. Take Kelly's ex-husband and former manager, Brandon Blackstock. He's the son of Narvel Blackstock, who, for years, managed Blake Shelton. That one connection alone means the two of them were orbiting the same universe long before any TV cameras caught them joking or roasting each other. But it's bigger than just that. Blake's longtime producer, he probably had a hand in cutting some of Kelly's earliest demos. That songwriter who gave Blake one of his #1 hits. He likely started out gigging in dive bars with Kelly before anyone knew her name. Their professional lives have been so intertwined for so long that separating them is almost impossible. And that's exactly the kind of inbred world Blake is joking about. It's a scene where you can't throw a guitar pick without hitting someone who's worked with both of them, toured with both of them, or been at the same barbecue at one of their houses. Their mutual friends list reads like the guest list for the Country Music Association's biggest awards, and their lives have crossed at nearly every turn. From industry parties to late-night recording sessions, from award show green rooms to random Oklahoma hometown events. This tangled network explains so much about their on-screen chemistry. When they roast each other, it's not fake. It's not forced. It's the natural rhythm of two people who've spent the better part of 2 decades orbiting the same circles, navigating the same chaotic industry, and sharing every high, low, and awkward moment along the way. Their friendship has grown in that chaos, so they can joke about sharing toothbrushes without anyone thinking it's weird. It's just shorthand for a history that's messy, hilarious, and completely unique. Outsiders might get dizzy trying to map it all out, but for them, it's life. Their bond is born from shared victories, shared heartbreaks, and a million tiny collisions that built a trust most people never experience. Take Kelly's ex-husband and former manager, Brandon Blackstock. He's the son of Narvel Blackstock, who, for years, managed Blake Shelton. That one connection alone means the two of them were orbiting the same universe long before any TV cameras caught them joking or roasting each other. But it's bigger than just that. Blake's longtime producer, he probably had a hand in cutting some of Kelly's earliest demos. That songwriter who gave Blake one of his #1 hits. He likely started out gigging in dive bars with Kelly before anyone knew her name. Their professional lives have been so intertwined for so long that separating them is almost impossible. And that's exactly the kind of inbred world Blake is joking about. It's a scene where you can't throw a guitar pick without hitting someone who's worked with both of them, toured with both of them, or been at the same barbecue at one of their houses. Their mutual friends list reads like the guest list for the Country Music Association's biggest awards, and their lives have crossed at nearly every turn. From industry parties to late-night recording sessions, from award show green rooms to random Oklahoma hometown events. This tangled network explains so much about their on-screen chemistry. When they roast each other, it's not fake. It's not forced. It's the natural rhythm of two people who've spent the better part of 2 decades orbiting the same circles, navigating the same chaotic industry, and sharing every high, low, and awkward moment along the way. Their friendship has grown in that chaos, so they can joke about sharing toothbrushes without anyone thinking it's weird. It's just shorthand for a history that's messy, hilarious, and completely unique. Outsiders might get dizzy trying to map it all out, but for them, it's life. Their bond is born from shared victories, shared heartbreaks, and a million tiny collisions that built a trust most people never experience. And make no mistake, this connection didn't start under the bright lights of a TV studio. To understand the real roots of the Blake and Kelly dynamic, you have to go back to years before The Voice, before platinum records, before talk show stages and red carpets, the chaos that built their bond. It's 2006. The air is thick and hazy in a tiny bar tucked just off Printer's Alley in Nashville. The floors are sticky, the smell of beer and old wood mixing with cigarette smoke. The kind of place where you might stumble into a future star and not even realize it. Blake Shelton is in the crowd, still riding the wave of early hits like Austin, tipping his hat to anyone who recognizes him. On stage, Kelly Clarkson isn't the polished daytime host. Millions know now. She's raw, she's fierce, she's fronting a rock band and belting out Since You Been Gone, with a grit that makes the sweat and energy in the room feel like part of the performance. Every note hits with a mix of power, frustration, and pure passion, proof that she wasn't just a singing contest winner. She was a force to be reckoned with. After the set, Blake sidles up to the bar, easygoing but carrying that unmistakable charisma. A casual compliment here, a few jokes there, and suddenly they swap numbers. It's nothing dramatic, just two artists connecting in the swirl of Nashville's music world. But the real bond didn't form over shared hits or backstage selfies, it formed in the trenches. Their friendship grew in the chaos of fame. Through label battles, chart wars, headline-grabbing divorces, and the constant whirl of public scrutiny, they became lifelines for each other. When Kelly married Brandon Blackstock, Blake's manager at the time, he didn't just show up as a professional courtesy. He was there in the messy, awkward, hilarious moments, teasing Brandon at the rehearsal dinner and making everyone laugh. Years later, when that marriage ended in a very public, painful way, Blake was still in her corner, sending late-night memes and ridiculous videos just to lift her spirits when everything seemed bleak. This is the history magazines never cover. People see their rivalry on The Voice, the teasing, the jokes, the eye rolls, but they don't see the decade-plus of shared experiences, the laughter, the heartbreak, the midnight phone calls, and the silent support. It's a bond forged in the grind, a shared understanding that surviving this world takes more than talent. It takes someone who gets it. The most controversial things Kelly Clarkson has ever done. Blake Shelton's public persona is all cowboy charm, teasing smiles and laid-back humor. Kelly Clarkson? She's fire. Straight shooting, unapologetic honesty. That's her brand. And that honesty has put her in the spotlight in ways most stars never want to experience. It's not just the banter on The Voice or her sharp jokes on daytime TV. It's the storms that rage behind the headlines. And in every one of those storms, Blake's been there. Not with press releases or public defenses, but quietly, fiercely, as the friend who actually has her back. Take the infamous My December saga in 2007. Kelly had just come off the worldwide success of Breakaway, an album that turned her into a global superstar practically overnight. But for her third album, she wanted something different, something raw, personal, and rock-infused. She co-wrote the entire record, pouring her life into every note. The label, though, and the legendary Clive Davis reportedly weren't fans. They were pushing for another Since You Been Gone, polished, radio-ready pop. Reports say Davis even publicly criticized the album and allegedly called her a terrible writer, telling her to just sing instead of speaking her mind. Kelly was painted as difficult, a young woman refusing to be anyone's puppet. She had to fight tooth and nail just to release the album the way she envisioned it. Through it all, Blake stayed in the wings, quietly watching, never stepping into the public argument, but privately checking in, sending support, and later admitting he hated seeing her dragged for simply wanting to stay true to herself. Fast forward to 2018. Kelly made a casual comment on a radio interview about spanking her kids, saying it was how she was raised and she didn't see anything wrong with it. Almost instantly, the internet erupted. Parenting blogs exploded with criticism, child development advocates weighed in, and social media turned into a full-on debate about her fitness as a mother. Through the chaos, Blake didn't post a single defense on Twitter. Didn't call out the haters. He simply sent a text telling her she was a great mom, plain and simple. That's all she needed. Then came 2023. The Kelly Clarkson show made headlines with allegations of a toxic work environment. Rolling Stone reported that some staff felt overworked and mentally strained. Importantly, every person interviewed made a point to say Kelly herself was fantastic, and likely unaware of the issues. Still, her name was dragged through the headlines. Once again, Blake stayed publicly quiet. But according to insiders, a subtle gesture of support appeared. Pizza trucks started showing up on Fridays for weeks, anonymously funded by someone in Nashville. It was his way of saying without words that he had her back. That's the yin and yang of their relationship. Kelly thrives on confronting the fire directly, taking hits, facing criticism, and refusing to sugarcoat anything. Blake thrives on steady support, quiet, consistent, and effective. Together it works. He knows exactly when to laugh with her, when to roast her on camera, and when to stay in the shadows, letting her face the world while he quietly makes sure she's never alone. The fan frenzy and the duet fever. The second Blake Shelton dropped that infamous inbred line about Kelly Clarkson, the internet collectively went haywire. And I mean really lost it. This wasn't just another viral clip destined to get a few thousand views and disappear. No, this was a full-blown cultural moment for anyone who had been watching their dynamic for years and quietly suspecting there was something unspoken between them. People had been tracking their jokes, their playful eye rolls on The Voice, and the way they could go from roasting each other to laughing until they cried in a single breath. And suddenly, Blake confirmed it in the most absurdly perfect way. The social media reactions were instant and insane. Twitter erupted with reactions ranging from hysterical to downright analytical. One fan perfectly summed up the vibe by calling them basically Chandler and Joey, but in Wranglers and with better vocals. Another true internet sleuth went full detective mode, posting a split-screen image of Blake's iconic 90s mullet next to Kelly's streaky highlights from her American Idol days in 2002. Captioned, "Inbred icons since dial-up." On Instagram, the polls were non-stop. Every story asked the same question. What are they, siblings or soulmates? And the public's answer was loud and clear. An overwhelming 73% went with siblings, signaling that fans were not only on board with the joke, but felt like they had finally cracked the code of the Blake and Kelly universe. TikTok, as always, turned the volume up to 11. Users immediately seized the audio clip of Blake's comment and ran with it. Stitches, duets, and reenactments flooded the platform. Thousands of people mimicking office romances, awkward family dinners, and hilariously tangled professional connections. One viral stitch started with the text, "POV, your work wife is also your cousin's ex-neighbor's former boss," perfectly capturing the absurd, interconnected chaos Blake was joking about. Even Kelly's mom, Jean, joined in, dropping 3 crying laughing emojis under a clip of the interview. A quiet, powerful stamp of approval. But the fan reaction didn't stop at laughter. It quickly evolved into action. Right after Blake's line, Kelly, still wiping tears from her eyes, leaned into the microphone and challenged him. If they were so inbred, he needed to get on a record with her. Blake, never one to resist a good joke, quipped back that he would, but only if he got to yodel. That single exchange lit a fire. Within minutes, the hashtag #YodelWithKelly was trending across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Fans, now armed with a name for their favorite duo, launched a full-scale campaign demanding that the two finally record together. Here's the kicker. This isn't a new desire. Back in 2012, Blake told Billboard that he wanted to sing with Kelly before we're too old to remember the words. Now, at 43 and 48 respectively, the public demand feels urgent, neon bright, and impossible to ignore. Rumor has it that Kelly's next album might have an open feature slot, and the online consensus is that it belongs to Blake. Fans aren't just asking, they're campaigning. Memes, TikTok videos, and Instagram posts all paint the same picture. The duet isn't just inevitable, it's overdue. What comes next for the country cousins? Blake Shelton's country cousins comment didn't just make for a viral moment. It reshaped how the world sees him and Kelly Clarkson. This wasn't a scandal, a secret revelation, or a drama-filled headline. It was branding, whether they meant it that way or not. For years, fans had been reading between the lines, decoding their teasing, eye rolls, and over-the-top roasting on The Voice. Now, Blake essentially gave them the cheat code. The sibling-like, chaotic, hilariously tangled friendship is real, and it's out in the open. So, what does this mean for the future? For one, expect the on-screen antics to go up a notch. Or 5. The next time Kelly and Blake are on a stage or a talk show set together, the playful chaos could get fully unhinged. They no longer need to hint at inside jokes or subtle digs because the premise is public. Picture Blake spinning Kelly's chair around mid-interview just to watch her freak out, or Kelly forcing Blake to belt out the Oklahoma State song in full, painfully dramatic twang as revenge. It's no longer subtext, it's a feature. Every roast, every jab, every exaggerated sigh on camera will carry the weight of decades of friendship, and fans will know exactly why they're laughing. But beyond the laughs, the confession gives fans a rare glimpse into the humanity behind the headlines. It's a reminder that under the glitz, the awards, and the carefully curated social media posts are two people who have spent years leaning on each other when the spotlight got hot. They've weathered public criticism, messy divorces, industry politics, and more, and the bond has only grown stronger. That's what makes the public side of their friendship so compelling. It's funny, chaotic, and relatable because it's grounded in real loyalty. Does this mean a full tour is coming? Probably not, at least not anytime soon. Both Blake and Kelly have packed schedules, with Vegas residencies reportedly locked through 2026, plus recording sessions, family commitments, and other projects. A full-scale tour would be logistically brutal. But what the confession does open is the door to smaller, high-impact collaborations. A one-off CMT Crossroads special, a surprise single for fans, even a live-streamed duet event? After this, any collaboration featuring Blake and Kelly feels like a guaranteed hit. The audience is ready, the chemistry is undeniable, and the story practically writes itself. In the end, Blake didn't just deliver a funny quote. He co-signed a brand, chaotic, loyal, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. Their friendship is now a shared narrative for the public to follow, a storyline built over decades of behind-the-scenes chaos, on-stage antics, and quiet support. And while the competition between artists might dominate headlines in other corners of the industry, this brand isn't about rivalry, it's about collaboration. Fans aren't just waiting for the next joke or roast. They're waiting to see what these two icons will do when the curtain rises, the music starts, and decades of friendship finally hit the stage in full force. What are your thoughts about the dynamics between Blake and Kelly? Share with us in the comments. While you're still here, check out the next video that pops up on your screen. Thanks for watching, fam!